aman lah, tak geser.
Aman. Wis tak streaming nih Mas.
Wis. Jadi geser dulu.
Apa? Terima kasih.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. May peace be upon us all. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, greetings offered to the Honorable Dean of Faculty of Law, UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Dr. D.R.A. Ertin Rining Nawangsari, MSI, and the Honorable Speaker of this event, Mr. Adam Nolan, International Teacher from EFEKTA for Adults, and our moderator, Dr. R. Teddy Prima Anggriawan, S.H., S.Sos, M.Kn, M.H., C.LA, and all beloved students of Faculty of Law UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and distinguished participants, welcome to today's seminar hosted by English First and Magister Hukum UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. Our theme for today's discourse is Grammar for Academic Papers, Tips and Tricks. As we delve into the intricacies of academic writing, we aim to equip you with valuable insights and strategies to enhance your grammatical proficiency in the realm of scholarly discourse. Whether you are a seasoned academician or a budding researcher, we trust that the knowledge shared here today will prove invaluable in your academic pursuits. My name is Fatima Zara, and I'm honored to serve as your Master of Ceremony for this enlightening event. Kegiatan ini diselenggarakan oleh EF Adults Tunjungan Plaza dan juga Magister Hukum Fakultas Hukum UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. Before we start our agenda, let's sing National Anthem Indonesia Raya, followed by Mars Bela Negara. To all respectable participants, I kindly ask you to please stand up.
Indonesia, tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu hidupku.
Bangsa dan bangsa air,
the main event, I would like to read a few rules for the participants. Dan sebelum memasuki acara utama, saya akan membacakan beberapa tata tertib. First, all participants must comply with and adhere to regulations established by the committee. Seluruh peserta kegiatan wajib mematuhi dan juga melaksanakan ketentuan yang telah ditetapkan oleh panitia. Second, all offline participants are required to arrive punctually at 12 o'clock. Seluruh peserta offline diwajibkan hadir tepat waktu pada pukul 12. Third, participants must wear neat and colored casual attire. Peserta wajib menggunakan pakaian bebas, sopan, rapi, dan juga berkerah. Fourth, participants must maintain the conducive atmosphere throughout the event. Peserta wajib menjaga kondusivitas selama acara berlangsung. And fifth, participants are prohibited from uttering words containing elements of discriminations and must behave politely during the event. Peserta dilarang mengucapkan kata-kata yang mengandung unsur diskriminasi dan wajib berperilaku sopan selama acara berlangsung. And now please join me in welcoming Dr. D.R.A. Ertin Rining Nawangsari MSI to share a few words with us. Kepada Ibu Dr. Ertin, saya persilakan untuk memberikan sambutan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Alhamdulillah, puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Siang hari ini kita memulai kegiatan akademik, ya, khususnya untuk Magister Hukum. Ya, ini merupakan kegiatan yang pertama yang dilaksanakan, ya, oleh Magister Hukum Fakultas Hukum Universitas Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur. Publikasi ilmiah adalah sebagai tuntutan dalam proses, ya, dalam proses belajar sekarang saat ini. Bagaimana itu adalah merupakan tuntutan baik itu untuk S1, ya, dan juga S2. Nah, apalagi dengan adanya peraturan rektor yang baru, ya, nomor 26 tahun 2023 yang mengharuskan bahwa mahasiswa S2, ya, itu harus publikasi ilmiahnya masuk pada Sinta 3 atau jurnal internasional atau proceeding yang berindeks Scopus. Sehingga tuntutan ini juga menjadikan kita harus paham, ya, tentang bagaimana cara menulis, bagaimana cara menyampaikan ide-ide dalam proses ataupun dalam hasil penelitian yang sudah kita lakukan. Karena bahasa yang baik, ya, bahasa yang mudah dimengerti akan memberikan kemudahan bagi pembaca untuk memahami apa yang kita tulis dan hasil dari penelitian kita. Sehingga hari ini merupakan hal yang sangat baik, ya, kegiatan yang tentu perlu kita kembangkan, ya, perlu sering kita kita lakukan, ya. Karena apa? Karena, ya, memberikan kemudahan kita dalam proses menulis, ya. Menulis itu gampang-gampang susah, susah-susah gampang. Karena apa? Karena dalam menulis itu, apalagi untuk menulis publikasi ilmiah, banyak aturan-aturan yang harus kita penuhi. Belum topiknya, belum format penulisannya, ya. Sehingga itu, dan yang paling penting adalah bahasa. Bagaimana kalau misalkan dalam proses publikasi ilmiah bahasa Indonesia tentu harus sesuai dengan kaidah bahasa Indonesia yang baik dan benar. Tetapi ketika bahasa jurnal atau publikasi ilmiah yang kita tuju adalah berbahasa asing atau berbahasa internasional, maka kita harus tahu tentang aturan-aturan grammarnya. Nah, kegiatan inilah diharapkan menjadi momentum awal di tahun ini, ya, memberikan semangat kepada baik itu mahasiswa S1 maupun mahasiswa S2 dalam proses belajar publikasi ilmiah, ya. Jangan kalah, karena kemarin saya kebetulan mendapat undangan dari Dies Natalis FK, ya, FK UPN yang baru semester 2. Mereka akhir tahun ini sudah harus publish di Sinta, ya, baru semester 2, tuntutannya seperti itu. Sehingga saya berharap ini menjadi pemacu bagi mahasiswa S1 Fakultas Hukum dan juga mahasiswa S2 Fakultas Hukum untuk lebih termotivasi, ya, dalam meningkatkan publikasi ilmiah. Itu mungkin harapan dari saya, dan tentu saya juga berterima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu dosen, ya, dalam hal ini yang memprakarsai kegiatan ini, terutama kepada Pak Teddy, dan juga mungkin nanti disampaikan kepada narasumber yang sudah bersedia untuk memberikan materinya yang sangat menarik pada siang hari ini, dan tentu kepada seluruh panitia, ya, yang terlibat dalam proses pelaksanaan kegiatan siang hari ini. Harapannya tentu dengan kegiatan ini memberikan motivasi kita dalam belajar menulis, ya, belajar menulis publikasi ilmiah yang tentu harapannya adalah bisa di submit, ya, dan bisa diterima di jurnal Sinta maupun jurnal yang berreputasi. Nah, semua itu tentu dengan tidak mungkin dengan tiba-tiba, tetapi tentu dengan belajar dan belajar. Mungkin itu dari saya dengan bacaan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, workshop Grammar for Academic Paper Tips and Tricks pada siang hari ini dimulai. Akhir kata, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Artin, for your inspiring words. And firstly, I would like to say the utmost gratitude towards God for letting us together in today's event with good and stable state of health. Before we continue our agenda, let's pray together, which will welcome Mr. Adam Nolan. And let's pray together, which will be led by Mrs. Romatul Faiza, SPDI, MPDI.
Sebelum kita mulai agenda pada siang hari ini, marilah kita berdoa, menundukkan kepala sejenak. Izinkan saya memimpin secara Islam. Bagi yang beragama lain, mohon bisa menyesuaikan. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya Allah, ya Fattah, ya Razak, kami berkumpul di ruangan ini dalam rangka melaksanakan kegiatan praktisi mengajar dengan tema Grammar for Academic Papers, Tips and Tricks. Untuk itu, ya Allah, kami memohon kepadamu, izinkan dan ridhoilah kegiatan kami ini dalam cahaya hidayah-Mu. Permudah dan lancarkanlah kami dalam melaksanakan semua kegiatan siang ini. Ya Allah, ya Fattah, ya Alim, Zat yang menggenggam takdir kami, bukakanlah pintu hati dan pikiran kami semua, agar bisa menerima semua ilmu yang akan disampaikan pada kegiatan praktisi mengajar pada siang hari ini. Ya Allah, ya Qawiyyu, ya Aziz, berikanlah kami kekuatan lahir dan batin, agar kami siap dan mampu mengimplementasikan ilmu-ilmu yang telah kami dapatkan. Ya Allah, ya Ghaffar, ya Qahhar, ampunilah segala dosa dan kesalahan kami, kedua orang tua kami, guru-guru kami, dan terimalah permohonan kami. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Walhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Thank you, Mrs. Iza, for leading the prayer. Without further ado, let us embark on this enlightening journey together. Please welcome Dr. R. Teddy Prima Anggriawan and Mr. Adam Nolan, and also Mr. Indiana Jifat Rosidi. Before that, let's take a photo together for the documentation. Kepada para hadirin dimohon untuk merapat. Now it's time to hear from our speaker, Mr. Adam Nolan, and also the following event will be guided by our moderators, Mr. Jifat and Dr. Teddy. This event will use two languages, both English and bahasa. Participants are allowed to ask questions using bahasa. Acara ini akan menggunakan dua bahasa dalam bahasa Inggris dan juga bahasa Indonesia. Untuk para peserta diperbolehkan untuk bertanya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. To Dr. Teddy and Mr. Adam Nolan and Mr. Jifat, please come to the stage.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat siang semuanya. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Yang saya hormati Dekan Fakultas Hukum UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, Ibu Dr. Ertindrini Nawasari. Yang saya hormati jajaran dekanat, wakil dekan 1, wakil dekan 3, serta Bapak Ibu dosen yang hadir pada siang hari ini, dan adik-adik semua yang saya banggakan dan kami banggakan semua tentunya, yang memiliki antusias luar biasa. Dan yang tidak lupa, thank you Mr. Adam, thank you Mr. Jifat for coming in University of Pembangunan Nasional Veteran Jawa Timur. Ini kegiatan pertama adik-adik di tahun 2024 dan ini merupakan kegiatan perdana yang dilakukan oleh Magister Hukum UPN Veteran Jawa Timur. Harapannya adik-adik nanti yang memiliki antusias semangat untuk melanjutkan studi, kami sangat terbuka sekali untuk menerima alumni Fakultas Hukum untuk bisa berlanjut di Magister Hukum. Program dari Magister Hukum salah satunya adalah kami mengadakan event setiap 1 bulan sekali untuk kegiatan akademik. Nah, ini merupakan kegiatan pertama yang akan adakan dalam waktu periode semester awal ini. Grammar for academic paper ini merupakan hal yang penting karena seperti kita tahu bahwa dalam tahapan proses untuk syarat kelulusan dan untuk publikasi ilmiah, salah satu indikatornya adalah dimaksimalkan dengan menggunakan bahasa asing. Nah, bahasa asing ini adik-adik biasanya terkendala terkait dengan tulisan. Kita selama ini hanya menggunakan aplikasi translate untuk penggunaan bahasa yang baik dan benarnya, itu kita mengandalkan aplikasi tersebut. Tetapi sebenarnya untuk membuat paper yang ilmiah yang lebih pada academic paper itu ada strategi-strategi yang bisa dilakukan. Jadi tidak hanya kita pasrahkan pada aplikasi. Nah, untuk mengupas hal-hal itu lebih dalam lagi, mungkin nanti akan diuraikan oleh Mr. Adam dan Mr. Jifat yang menjembatani nanti apabila adik-adik ingin bertanya dalam bahasa Indonesia, nanti mungkin dibantu oleh Mr. Jifat, bisa pakai bahasa Indonesia, dan secara umum nanti akan disampaikan oleh Mr. Adam terkait tentang grammar. Apabila nanti yang ditanyakan itu berkaitan dengan riset hukum, maka saya akan menjembatani bagaimana dalam konteks penulisan karya ilmiah hukum itu di strateginya bagaimana. Jadi silakan digunakan untuk dua bahasa, bisa bahasa Indonesia, bisa Inggris. Nanti suasana dalam forum ini kita bikin santai, karena kunci utama kita membuat paper itu kita harus menyukai dulu. Kita harus santai, kita harus relax, karena orang menulis paper itu narasi berpikirnya harus tertata, jadi harus relax. Gitu. Saya harap adik-adik semua di sini bisa aktif. Saya atas nama Magister Hukum UPN Veteran Jawa Timur, terima kasih atas kehadirannya di sini dan selamat menikmati untuk sesi tanya jawab dan sesi paparan yang disampaikan oleh Mr. Adam. Saya kembalikan ke moderator. Terima kasih.
Halo, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya mau minta izin terlebih dahulu karena kita akan menggunakan dua bahasa di sini. Ibu semuanya hadir di sini. Kita mungkin akan bikin acara yang lebih santai ya. Karena jujur saya juga deg-degan barusan. Yeah. Okay, so as I know for today kita bakalan live juga di YouTube, benar? Yeah. So we need to say hi to the camera before because we're actually live from YouTube for now. Dilihat oleh most likely berapa ratus ribu orang? 200 orang, 300 orang? Ya, wow, oke. Tepuk tangan dulu dong buat kita semuanya. Oke, terima kasih sekali. Perkenalkan, saya adalah Jifat. Saya hari ini sebagai course consultant di EF, di English First EFEKTA, English for Adults, bersama dengan Adam, salah satu international teacher kita yang ada di Tunjungan Plaza Surabaya, dan juga satu orang lagi yang tadi belum sempat disebut, ada Mr. Rizal yang sudah ikut bersama kami. He's pretty vital untuk proses perkembangan student kita di EF karena beliau adalah senior student consultant, ya. Jadi kalau di sentral kami atau di kantor kami biasanya di tempat di EF kita punya course consultant yang akan membantu Anda semuanya untuk bisa mengikuti proses pembelajarannya. Tapi nanti juga ada semacam dosen wali. Nah, beliau ini salah satunya. Jadi pretty vital kalau misalnya nanti mau tanya-tanya mengenai progres pembelajaran, terus kemudian bagaimana cara tips and trick untuk bisa belajar bahasa Inggris dengan jauh lebih cepat dan juga tepat. Mr. Rizal has a lot of answer for it. Seperti itu. We are pleased to say kalau salah satu dari dosen di sini, Mr. Teddy juga adalah salah satu student dari EF kita. Kami cukup merasa bangga diundang juga di sini untuk hari ini karena kebetulan Mr. Teddy juga merasa bahwa kebutuhannya untuk bisa berbahasa Inggris itu bisa di cover oleh EF untuk saat ini. Hopefully Anda juga semuanya nanti ya. Oke, now kami akan memulai langsung untuk rangkaian acara hari ini. Hari ini Adam sebagai speaker kami juga akan memberikan sedikit informasi mengenai tips and trick bagaimana. Oke. Baik Ibu, terima kasih sekali untuk waktunya sudah mau hadir ke sini. Iya, kami izin untuk lanjutkan kembali untuk acaranya ya. Ya. Oh ya udah santai ya, oke baik. Ya, oke jangan lupa senyum selama acara karena pasti kalian akan difoto tiba-tiba. Nggak enak kan kalau misalnya yang foto kalian ternyata kemudian mukanya cemberut. Oke, kita pengen hasil foto kalian yang sekali-sekali ini tetap tersenyum dengan baik dan benar. Plus kita lagi live di YouTube. Oke, baik kalau begitu langsung saja untuk mempersingkat waktu kita punya waktu sekitar berapa menit? 50 menit untuk sesi bersama dengan Adam Nolan untuk hari ini. Langsung saja Adam.
Okay, so am I just asking for the next slide? Yeah, alright, that's fine. Alright, so topic is academic writing, okay? So first of all, what are academic papers? If we could see the text. So, yeah, any work that is either published or submitted to your institution for an academic purpose, right? Next text. So, some things we might do in academic writing, we might analyze, we might hypothesize, educate and inform people, things like this, the purpose for academic papers. Next text. So just some examples, might be an essay, might be a research study, a theory, a meta-study, so different types of academic writing, okay, and some different purposes of academic writing. Alright, so as it says at the bottom, they're subject to greater scrutiny. That means people might read it in more detail and look for things to criticize. They might look for things to say, basically, this is wrong, I don't agree with this, or where's your evidence, right? And also the standard of writing has to be higher, so you'd have to use more appropriate or specific language in academic writing, right? So it's basically the standard is higher in academic writing. Okay, next slide. Okay, so an idea of the structure of one research paper, if we can see the image. Okay, so I think this is a 4,000 word count. So obviously it depends on the type of paper you're writing, but this is an example of how it could look. So your abstract, maybe only 200 words. Introduction, your methods, results, conclusion. It can be quite hard to stick to a word limit. It can be easier if you've got like a 10,000 word limit compared to a 4,000 word limit. You might write something that's 6,000 words and then have to cut out a lot of words. That can be quite difficult, making your sentences shorter or avoiding repetition. Maybe you've already said something before and you're saying the same thing again, so you can remove that. Maybe there's a way to make your sentence shorter. It's quite difficult to write an abstract in only 200 words. So that's a skill that you can work on, condensing your language, making it short and to the point, right? Okay, next slide. Okay, so just to go over the structure. So the abstract, that's a brief overview of your study, what you did, what the results were, any conclusion you can gather from those results. Quite difficult to do in 200 words. Your introduction, so you might reference some previous studies, okay? Your methods, this is very specific, what you did, how you found your results. Your results will be an analysis of the results and then a discussion and conclusion. So it depends on what type of academic writing you're doing, but this is more for, like a more scientific research, but it will be relevant to all types of academic writing. All right, next slide. Okay, structure of text. So we've got formatting. Okay, so formatting is basically sort of the font that you use, the spacing between the lines, indentation, as well as things like commas and full stops and all this kind of stuff. So formatting, you have to make sure your formatting is correct. Some other things, common mistakes, commas, full stops, colons, semicolons, not using them properly. Okay, mixing tenses. So I think tenses are difficult for Indonesians in English because Indonesian doesn't have past tense, right? You have to be consistent with your tenses. You can't keep switching from like past tense to present tense to past tense to present tense. It won't make sense. Or are you using continuous, present continuous, past continuous? Are you using the present perfect when you meant to use the past simple? So you have to be using the right tense and be consistent with the tenses. Don't keep switching tenses. So just think about, when did this happen? Is it happening right now? Did it happen in the past? Is it already finished? And then stick to that tense. Yeah. Other common problems, maybe the vocabulary. So you don't have the vocab to choose the most appropriate language, right? The most sort of appropriate or professional term to use. So you might use unprofessional, informal language in academic writing by mistake. As well as that, yeah, I think the other thing I wanted to say was consistency. So consistency with terms used. So say, for example, if you're writing an essay about your car and you call it my car, you should always call it my car. My car this, my car that, my car this. You shouldn't say my car, then in the next line, my vehicle, then in the next line, my transportation. If you keep using a different term every time, it's confusing. So when you're doing academic writing about a specific subject, there's a specific term to use and make it consistent. Yeah? Okay. There's some tips. So let's move on to the next slide. Just done that, so next slide. All right, so you don't need to read all of this. Just at a glance, something that I've just spoken about, there's an error in here. So you should be able to see it in the first few seconds. What's wrong with this? If someone submitted this, it needs something done to it. It's one of the things that I just mentioned earlier. Any ideas? Should only take you like 2 seconds to see. You don't really need to read it. Any ideas? Yeah? Yeah? And yeah? Spaces? And in general, what category is that under? Formatting. Yeah, it's not formatted well. Yeah? So you don't need to read it, you can just see that the formatting isn't good. Okay, so if we move on to the next slide. Okay, next. Now the formatting is corrected, yeah? Okay. So next slide. Okay, so again, this will be one of the things that I just previously mentioned. There are some mistakes in here. What mistake is being made? Okay, you could maybe discuss with the partner for a minute or two, and maybe if you spot the mistake, how would you change it? Okay, any ideas? formatting for this one, it's not about formatting. It might not be right. It depends on the specific institution. So one thing about formatting is it depends what your institution requires, like what does your specific university need, or what's the standard in your field. So the standard formatting in, say, psychology might be different to the formatting in physics, maybe, for publishing papers. But for this one, I wasn't thinking of formatting. There's something else that isn't that great in here. One of the things I spoke about just previously. Any more ideas? So what I mentioned before was formatting. I mentioned mixing tenses. I mentioned poor use of commas, full stops, semicolons. I mentioned unprofessional language, and I mentioned inconsistency with what we call things. Which one do you think this one is doing? Okay, which part? So you said maybe the grammar. Which part specifically?
Actually, I don't. Can I speak in bahasa? Saya tidak terlalu hafal untuk grammar spesifiknya, cuman yang tidak tidak continue itu di bagian is, lalu bawahnya itu dia pakai das, habis itu pakai kan, jadi tidak continue gitu. Menurut saya grammarnya.
In which part?
Yang vitamin C is a really important bla bla bla. Lalu yang what scarfidus is basically itu, lalu bawahnya lagi pakai infection can really bad bla bla bla.
The grammar is
okay.
The grammar isn't a problem. Something else that's a problem with that. So it's not good to say vitamin C is a really important nutrient which can't be made out of thin air by humans. The grammar's fine, but it's not a good sentence for academic writing. Why is that? Yeah? Yeah, so we've got another idea.
I think it's maybe the language is not really formal language.
Yeah, it's informal and unprofessional to say, you know, something like out of thin air.
Yeah.
Or so what you could do, have a look through, look for things that you think are not very professional or too informal. You could discuss with the people next to you, what could you use instead? Okay.
This is the first sentence with vitamin C is really important.
Really important, yeah.
I think it can be changed by essential maybe.
Good, yeah. So that's an example. Really important. Instead of that, we could say it's essential, yeah. So have a look through at some more that you can find, and how would you change them, okay? Just take a minute or two to look through. How would you change them? Then I'll show you the answers.
Maybe we can change the second sentence. Really bad vitamin C deficiency. We can change really bad with maybe severe.
Yeah, it would be better. Severe is better than really bad. Yeah. So I want everyone in the room to look through, spot unprofessional language. You could discuss with the person next to you, I found this, I think this is unprofessional, and then you could discuss what you might change it to instead, like those two examples. There are more examples in here, okay? You could take a minute or two to discuss together. At least you could find one and think of what you could change it to, okay? Okay, let's see the next slide. There's some examples of unprofessional language. Really important, made out of thin air, really bad. What scurvy does is basically gives us bad wound healing and bad immunity. What about some people said? Some people said. Not eating enough. So any ideas what any of these could be changed to? We got really important changed to essential. We got really bad changed to severe. Any more ideas? Okay, let's see the next slide then. Let's see what they could be changed to. So essential and severe is good because that's what was actually used. Okay, it doesn't come out of thin air. We've changed it to it can't be synthesized. We've got results in, resulting in, potentially fatal, highly susceptible, characterized by, impaired immunity instead of bad immunity, yeah. Instead of people said, have been reported, okay. So it's an example of more professional language, okay. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, what is the mistake here? It's one of the ones that I was talking about before. So to remind you, I said formatting, which we've done, unprofessional language, which we've done. What I've got left is mixing tenses, poor use of commas and full stops, or inconsistency between the terms used. Okay, any ideas?
I think it's the inconsistency.
Okay, which term isn't consistent?
The second sentence is using participants, and the other one is using volunteer.
Good, yeah. Let's see the next slide. We've got participants, volunteers, research subjects. They're being called three different things. That can be confusing because are the volunteers the same people as the participants, or are these different volunteers doing something else, right? So we need to be consistent. So let's see, the correction is quite easy. Next slide. Participants, each participant, participants, yeah? Now we're consistent with our terms that we're using. That's important, okay? Next slide. Okay. What's the one left that I mentioned? There's two left. There's tenses and commas and full stops. Oh, and there's also, sorry, we've got three left. There's another one. There's another problem here that I didn't mention. So actually, yeah, this is a new problem. Try and spot what the problem is. tenses are okay. The commas and full stops are okay. The person writing this paper is making a mistake though. They're doing something wrong. Specifically when they're talking about what they did. So we've got, for this study, I used pills containing active vitamin C. I purchased both from here. We instructed participants to do this. We determined compliance by doing this. What's wrong with these sentences? Yeah, at the back. Yeah, you shouldn't refer to yourself. You shouldn't say I or we. So instead of I used pills containing vitamin C, what could we say instead?
Maybe can use like a writer, or if the writer is participant, it's a participant use pills, or the writer use pills, like that.
Yeah,
like the position of the writer, like that.
Yes, yes. So you could say participants took pills. Yes, but you wouldn't say I used pills. You don't refer to yourself in academic writing. So let's see the error. Next slide. I used pills. I purchased them from here. We instructed them to do this. We determined it by doing this. Let's see the correction. Next slide, please. Participants took pills. The pills were purchased from. Participants were instructed to do this. Compliance was determined by this, yeah? So we're not referring to ourselves, okay? We can refer to the participants or the medicine or anything like this, but not to ourselves, okay? So instead of we did this, we would say this was done, yeah? Okay, next one. All right, so what we've got left is either poor use of commas and full stops or poor use of tenses. What do you think? Any ideas? Yep. Yeah, we've got commas and full stops all over the place, haven't we? So maybe that's an overlooked part of grammar, but you have to be careful with your commas and full stops. Sometimes you might make a really long sentence just using comma, comma, comma. It's okay to just do a full stop and finish your sentence and then start a new sentence. You don't need to keep using commas all the time and make really long sentences. At the same time, yeah, I mean, and you don't need to keep putting commas in where they're not needed. So this has got too many commas in it. But at the same time, you also need to make sure it makes sense where you finish your sentence. So maybe some of these full stops don't make sense. Okay. So yeah, if you just read the whole part is one long sentence until you get to here. Yeah. So all of this is one sentence with lots of commas. It's not good. It needs fewer commas and more full stops to finish the sentence, to start a new one. That's what it needs, okay? All right, next slide. Next slide. So that's the correction. We just removed a lot of commas. Now our sentence ends here instead of down here, our first sentence, okay? We've removed some commas. All right, next slide. So what is the mistake here? Last one.
In my opinion, the mistake is using mixed tenses.
Yeah, okay. So can you give an example?
The sentence from the participants take.
Okay.
It must be took or
Yeah.
take or have taken.
Yeah. What's the difference in meaning? So you did take, took, and have taken. So what does it mean? They take it. Participants take pills. What's the actual meaning behind that?
The participants have taken pills, sir.
Yeah. So you've given me 3 different tenses. You've given me took, take, have taken. So what's the difference between the 3 tenses?
Oh, it's the present tense and past tense, and the last one is present continuous?
Present perfect.
Oh, present perfect tenses.
And what's the difference in meaning between the 3 tenses? What do they actually mean?
Sorry, I don't really know, sir.
Alright, so let's say took, past tense, past simple. What does that mean? Participants took pills. What's the meaning behind that? Anyone know?
The participant took pills, meaning that they have the activities has been done and it ended.
It's finished, yeah. So it means they did it in the past
Yes.
and it's finished. They're not doing it anymore. Participants took pills. Okay, that's the past simple. What about participants take pills? What does that mean?
Take pills that may take place in the present.
And more specifically, what's the difference between that and the present continuous? Participants are taking pills or participants take pills? What's the difference in meaning?
As far as I know, present continuous, meaning it's still happening by the time as is going.
What if I say I swim or I am swimming?
I am swimming, meaning by this time, right now.
Right
you
now?
are.
I am swimming means it's happening right now. What does I swim mean then?
I assume it's something that you do, not exactly that you're doing that one.
Okay, when do I do it then?
To my knowledge, as far as I know, I assume usually used as in something like hobby.
Yeah, so it's something that happens in general.
Yes.
Something I sometimes do.
Correct.
But it doesn't mean I'm doing it right now. So present simple is something that happens sometimes, but it doesn't mean it's happening right now. So if you said participants take pills, it means sometimes they do that.
Yes.
If you say participants are taking pills, it means they're doing that right now, maybe as part of this study.
Yes.
If you say participants took pills, it means they did that in the past and they're not doing it now.
Yes.
The other example was have taken, the present perfect. So what does that mean then? Participants have taken pills.
That is activities still going on.
Not necessarily. It could be, but for this one, no. What about I have been to Malaysia? I'm not still in Malaysia, but I can say I have been to Malaysia.
I'm still kind of confused with that one.
So this one, the present perfect, have been, have taken, that means it happened in the past, but the effect is still relevant now. So there's still some effect. So for example, I'm not hungry because I have already eaten. Eating is finished, but the effect of me being full is still there. It still has an effect. So the present perfect is there if there's still an effect now, yeah? So the participants are sick because they have taken pills. They finished taking the pills, but the effect of being sick is still there, yeah? So you don't have to use the present perfect, but if you're using it, some people use it by mistake instead of the past simple, and it's not correct. Yeah, but it's good to know what they all mean. So, yeah, you've got participants completed, past tense, yeah, past simple. So that makes me think it's finished. The study is finished. But then we've got the participants take the pills. So now I'm confused. Is it finished or is it still happening? And when do they take it? This sounds like in general, right? Were significantly increasing. So that's the past continuous. So it was happening. So why is it like that? Vitamin C doesn't affect the change. So now that's now. The participants report perfect compliance. So are they doing that now? Or is it finished? So it's confusing. So let's see the next slide. Yeah. So problems, inconsistent tenses. Let's see the correction. Next slide. All in the past simple. So they completed, they took vitamin C concentrations were significantly increased. It did not affect, and participants reported, and these things were observed, all in the past. Okay, so you can stay in the past simple. You don't need to use the present perfect. You don't need to say participants have taken. That means there's still some effect now. Just stay in the past simple. It's better. All of this is in the past simple. Okay? Alright, and you don't need to use the past continuous either. Were taking. Instead of participants were taking, participants took. Past simple. Yeah, because it's finished. Alright, so that's 6 different tips. Okay? Let's see the next slide. Okay, useful vocab. So, unprofessional language. Okay? Unprofessional language and professional language on this side. This is something you can search for online. So I just found this online. You can search, formal language, academic language. There's loads of stuff like this. Loads of lists of words, loads of tables. Okay? This is just one of the ones I found. Okay? So yeah, just example. You don't say people, you say participants. Make less, reduce, right? And so on. So if you are doing some academic writing and you're not sure, you can just search online, can't you, and find something like this. Find a more formal, professional term for the language that you're not sure about. Yeah. So if you're thinking, what happened, what we did, and you think this sounds a bit informal, you just search for that and you find, okay, the process was blah blah blah. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. Okay, this is a bit too small. We've actually gone over the grammar, right? So probably if it's something that has finished, you're just going to stay in the past simple, okay? If it's something that's happening right now, you might use the present continuous. Something that happens in general, the present simple, right? Something that happened in the past but still has an effect now, you might use the present perfect. This has happened, okay? Let's move on. Yeah, next slide. So, this one has all the mistakes here. Formatting, unprofessional language, inconsistent terms, poor use of commas, full stops. Researchers make themselves a subject and it mixes tenses. So you could discuss with the people around you, find some of the errors, maybe how would you change them, okay? So there's loads of errors in there to find. I'll give you a couple of minutes. Yeah, you've got some ideas?
I think in the first sentence it has a poor use of commas and full stops. I think the first mistake is in the first sentence. First sentence.
Yeah. What's the mistake in the first sentence?
It has a lot of poor use of commas.
Yeah, it does. It has loads of commas. Like, we don't really need a comma here, do we? Or here. We don't need them. So it's got too many commas. Yeah?
I think that's it. The first
Okay.
thing that I want.
What about the amount of vitamin C we are needing?
Yeah.
The amount of vitamin C we're needing. How about that? We are needing.
Can you repeat your question?
This bit. How about this?
I think it's quite informal.
And does anyone have any idea how we change this bit? We are needing. Tense isn't good. All right, let's look through. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So first of all, the formatting isn't good. So if we see the next slide. Next slide. Oh, sorry, let's go back. Sorry, previous slide. Let's see that. All right, tenses are wrong and keep changing. So we've got wrong tense. We are needing. We were. Is providing. Couldn't. Happened. Were, including. Were. We've got past tense. We've got present tense. We've got present continuous. We've got all different tenses in there. We need to choose one tense, okay? Informal language, to stop, pretty low, to eat, all right. People say, not enough, yeah. Vitamin C, nutrient C, vitamin C, nutrient C, vitamin C, nutrient C. It's inconsistent. We need to call it one thing and be consistent, right? Researchers make themselves the subject, you know. I think, that's not good, I think, okay. I believe, okay. So let's see how we'll correct them all. Let's see the next slide. We've corrected the formatting, okay. Next slide. We've corrected the tenses, so the amount of vitamin C we need, we are recommended to eat this, okay. Informal language, let's see how we correct that. Next slide. Okay, instead of the amount of vitamin C we need to stop, we've done required to prevent, okay? Required to prevent, relatively low. Individuals, not people, yeah. Low vitamin C, we've changed it to vitamin C deficiency. Okay, so we've changed our language. Next one's going to be easy, so vitamin C, nutrient C, vitamin C, nutrient C. Let's see the next slide. So now it's all consistent, vitamin C. It makes more sense, it's easier to read. It's confusing, is nutrient C the same thing as vitamin C or is it a different thing, right? But now we know, yeah. And next slide, finally. We correct the commas and full stops, so now it's perfect, yeah. That's all the corrections. Maybe, since you've got the PowerPoint, maybe you can get this later to look over in your own time. Yeah. Okay. So let's see the next slide. Next. Okay, so final tips and tricks to remember. Let's see the text. Okay, so pick the correct tense and stay in it. when you're doing your revision, you need to think carefully about the tenses you're using. Okay, when did it happen? Next, use formal academic words. So again, when you're revising, look at all the terms you're using. Is there something more appropriate, more professional I could use here? You can search online for the list of words. Okay, so we need, maybe we require, right? Okay, next one. Don't make yourself the subject. Are you saying I did this, I think this? If you are, you need to change that to this was done, yeah? Instead of I did this. Next, so being consistent with what we call things. Pick one term and stick with it. And next, and formatting. Make sure you know what formatting you need to do, right? Okay, next. Commas, full stops, maybe an overlooked part of grammar, but it's important. So don't make really long sentences with loads of commas. Use a full stop and then start a new sentence, okay? Okay, next. Structure and word count. So it's a skill to be concise as well, to delete unnecessary words, to make your sentence shorter, yeah? And to not keep repeating the same thing again and again if you've already said it. All right, I think that's everything. Let's see next. Yeah, okay. That's the end of my advice, my tips and tricks. So I think we're open for more questions. Okay, if anyone has questions.
Oke, waktunya masih ada sekitar 8 menit dari sekarang. I will start untuk conduct sesi tanya jawab. Sesi tanya jawab ini mungkin nanti bisa menggunakan dua bahasa. Because I believe some of you is actually nggak ngerti ya tadi ngomong apa aja Bapak Adam ya kan? Nggak apa-apa. Nanti Anda bisa translate juga beberapa PowerPoints dari Mr. Adam, nanti kita akan share juga. But then for now, ada yang mau tanya terlebih dahulu? Kita punya 8 menit dari sekarang. Saya akan appreciate kalau misalnya ada yang mau bertanya. Kita bagi dalam 2 sesi. Sesi pertama kita akan bagi menjadi 3 orang yang bertanya. So, the first 3 person who's asking, please raise your hand. Boleh angkat tangan? Ya, 1. Terus kemudian ada lagi? Kita kumpulin dulu ya. Kemudian siapa lagi? Ada lagi? Ada lagi? 3 orang, masih 1 orang. Oke, 1 dulu kalau gitu ya. Yang Mbak berhijab ungu silakan berdiri. Pertanyaan boleh berbahasa Indonesia. I'll try my best untuk translate it supaya tidak keluar dari konteksnya. But if you can speak in English very well, I think it's okay for you to give a good shot to Mr. Adam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Perkenalkan, nama saya Sevina Asari. Saya akan bertanya menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Bagaimana cara kita tahu bahwa kata yang kita gunakan itu bukan academic word, dan gimana cara kita mencari vocab dari academic word tersebut? Terima kasih.
Tadi pertanyaan dan bagaimana apa?
Bagaimana cara kita untuk mencari vocab academic word-nya tersebut?
Oke, adik-adik misalnya kalau adik-adik ada yang mau ditanyakan terkait dengan riset hukum, nanti nggak apa-apa disampaikan aja, nanti mungkin saya akan mengkomunikasikan itu dalam bentuk hal yang umum sehingga bisa ditulis. Misalnya nih contohnya dalam penggunaan istilah dalam bahasa hukum itu kan ada istilah-istilah lain, misalnya penggunaan kalimat Belanda dan sebagainya. Nah itu gimana kalau dalam paper internasional, apakah harus tertranslatekan ke English atau versi Belanda misalnya kayak gitu ya, atau hal-hal lain yang adik-adik sekiranya mau tanyakan silakan. Jadi tidak harus untuk hal-hal umum saja, tapi versi hukumnya pun juga boleh. Nanti kita ambil nih titik tengahnya di mana dari versi yang regulernya, yang umumnya gitu. Oke, silakan lainnya.
Baik, yang Mbak berkerudung biru, Mbak mulu dari tadi. Mas-masnya ada yang mau tanya? Jangan lupa, tadi saya lupa untuk yang bertanya hari ini saya akan kasih 3 grammar book untuk Anda semua. So I will give you like 6 grammar book for you, free. It costs you like $1 million di sini. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian mau sambil belajar grammar, kalian bisa baca buku ajaib ini. Ini adalah pegangan kami semua kalau di kantor. Jadi sometimes we forget about the grammars indeed. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian pengen tahu atau belajar lebih cepat lagi, buka aja grammar book ini. Oke. Nanti yang tanya-tanya jangan lupa ya, kita kasih untuk grammar booknya. Oke, the next question. Mau pakai bahasa Indonesia apa pakai bahasa Inggris?
Pakai bahasa Indonesia.
Oke, baik.
Bagaimana cara penulisan pasal? Kayak misalnya kita mengutip secara langsung pasal, kayak pasal 1 sekian tentang barang siapa, bla 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 bla. Apakah itu akan ditranslate ke bahasa Inggris atau akan tetap ditulis dengan kutipan langsung? Gitu. Terima kasih.
Oke, ada lagi yang mau tanya?
Thank you for the time. Good afternoon, sir. I want to ask something that how we can remember the academics word instead we.
Sebentar, permisi, saya ulangi lagi. Mohon maaf ya. Oke.
Okay.
Oke. Ya.
How we can remember the academics words. That's it.
Okay, so basically the question is same like Mbak yang berkerudung ungu.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How do you know when we use the academic words?
No. We remember it. Academics word without any translation.
Oke, berarti Oke, hanya saja gimana cara mengingatnya.
Yep.
Oke, baik kalau begitu.
Thank you.
Oke, dua sesi terlebih dahulu ya. Tadi yang berbaju ungu, berkerudung ungu namanya siapa? Sevina, oke. Sevina, thank you so much Sevina udah mau bertanya ya. Untuk selanjutnya pertanyaan kedua tadi berbaju biru di belakang. What's your name? Zahwa, oke. And the last one, the only guy yang tanya, Rian, oke. So you may answer the question.
All right. First question, how do we know if our vocabulary is academic or not, if it's appropriate or if it's informal? And how do we find academic words? So the first thing is, if you're doing some academic writing, you're probably going to have to read other people's academic writing first as part of your academic writing. So say if you've got 20 references in your academic writing, that means you should have read 20 papers. Maybe you've read 40 because you've decided that, you know, this one isn't very good to reference actually, but this one is good. So you should have already done a lot of academic reading, and you will notice in their papers the terms that they use. So you're probably not going to find many examples of really bad in an academic paper. This was really bad. You probably won't find that sentence anywhere. What you might find is a lot of severe, yeah? So if you notice you never see really bad and you always see severe, 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 that's the word that you should use, right? So if you do a lot of reading, read academic papers, you will notice the vocabulary that they use and you will get used to it the more you read it, right? So obviously you want to copy the style of writing. Same with any type of writing. If you're writing a fictional novel, it's got different types of words, different types of language compared to academic papers, right? And if you want to be good at writing fictional novels, you'll need to read a lot of fictional novels, and you learn kind of the flow of the language and the type of vocabulary used, right? So the first one is reading lots of academic papers and making sure then that your language used is the same, right? You copy what they do, copy what they say, copy the structure, copy the language. The next one is, like I said, the word lists. So you can just go on Google and type in academic language table, academic language conversion, formal language. The one that I just found it took me, like 10 seconds, just typed in Google and it popped up. There are loads of them, yeah. And I just chose that one for my presentation, but there are so many of them. So that gives you specific terms as well. So need, required, really bad, severe, yeah. So you can look through the table as well. So when you're reading through your paper, when you're reviewing, really bad, is that the best way I could say that? Maybe you can just search it, really bad. Oh, severe, that's better, I'll replace it with that, yeah. Or read through your reference papers. Do they use really bad or do they use something else? If they use something else, maybe you should be using that as well and not what you've used, right? And how to remember them. Remembering is about using things and repetition. So if you just read one time that really bad means severe, and then that's it, you just look it up and then you don't look at it again for a year, you won't remember it, will you? But if you use it lots of times, if you write it, this is severe, that is severe, if you use it in everyday language, my car was severely damaged, you will remember it forever if you keep using it. So just keep using it, keep on reading academic papers, keep on making the sentences, you will remember it. Yeah, it's about repetition and using it, the memory. And the next question, how do you write, what is a law clause? Do you mean clause like a conditional, like if this, then this? So are you talking about like the first conditional, the second conditional? If this, will this, if that happened, that would happen? How you write a law regulation? So you're talking about like sort of translating clauses in contracts from Indonesian to English. I mean that probably depends on a specific one. It's quite a general question how to write clauses in English, but the language is quite formal, and very specific. I can only recommend reading contracts. Like for example, like I've got my tenancy agreement, and on one side it's in Indonesian, on the other side it's in English. So if you read a contract like that, you would see what a lot of the language is used, but it's quite a difficult question to answer, like how to write clauses for a contract, for example, in English, because there's the vocabulary that you would need, and it depends on what type of contract. Is it like a rental agreement? There's specific vocabulary, right? Like a deposit or this or that, or is it what is it for? I don't know. It's quite a hard question to answer how to write a clause, but you will need very specific vocab depending on what it's for, specifically what it's for, right? I don't know. Is there more to that question?
Yeah, probably Mr. Teddy will try to complete it first before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Jadi saya mau menambahkan gini adik-adik. Kalau misalnya dalam penggunaan paper akademik gitu ya, itu kan ada kayak istilah kita menggunakan bahasa asing. kita menyebut BW misalnya kan, ya kan, bahasa asing dalam bahasa Belanda itu kalau kita kan kadang masih sering menyebut kitab undang-undang hukum perdata. Nah itu kalau menurut banyak jurnal internasional itu tidak diperbolehkan. Kita itu harus menggunakan bahasa asalnya dari mana bahasa itu muncul. Ya misalnya kalau BW kita sebut aja istilahnya BW, misalnya Berjolik Wet Book for Indonesia, misalnya kayak gitu. Itu kan bahasa Belandanya. Terus kemudian banyak riset itu yang ngasih tanda kurung, itu dia dijelaskan dalam bahasa Indonesia disebut kitab undang-undang hukum perdata. Jadi pemaknaan kadang gini, makanya banyak istilah-istilah pakar hukum di Indonesia itu tidak menggunakan bahasa KUH perdata, tapi mereka menggunakan bahasa BW karena kadang kalau penerjemahannya itu beda, maka maknanya akan berbeda. Dalam kitab KUHP pun juga demikian gitu. Jadi untuk amannya, untuk riset internasional itu adik-adik silakan untuk bisa bikin 2 versi. Jadi versi bahasa resminya terus dalam kurung dalam hukum Indonesia disebut bla 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 gitu. Jadi tidak menyebut spesifik salah satu saja gitu ya. Oke, thank you.
Oke. Untuk jawabannya cukup memuaskan ya. Saya mau sedikit translate untuk Anda semua yang mungkin tidak berbahasa Inggris. Tadi beberapa pertanyaan dan juga beberapa jawaban dari Mr. Adam, terutama untuk gimana caranya kita bisa mencari bahasa akademik yang lebih baik. Terus kemudian bagaimana kita menghafal dan juga paham bahasa akademik. Kalau dari Mr. Adam tadi bilangnya adalah dengan sering-sering membaca dan juga mempraktekkan penggunaan bahasanya tersebut. Jadi kalau memang misalnya pengen focusing pada penggunaan bahasa-bahasa akademik atau bahasa-bahasa yang lebih formal, I think it's best for you to start. Akan jauh lebih baik buat Anda semuanya di sini untuk memulai sering-sering mencari, karena apa yang tadi dari yang Adam katakan adalah dia suka cari, you can use Google anyway untuk mencari sinonim kata yang mungkin jauh lebih formal dibandingkan kata-kata yang sekarang lagi ada di pikirannya kalian semua kayak begitu. So it's actually easy for you. It took you only like 3-5 seconds, 5 detik, 10 detik mungkin hanya untuk googling untuk penggunaan bahasa-bahasa akademik itu. Dan jangan lupa supaya lebih paham atau lebih hafal, caranya adalah digunakan sehari-hari. Because it's actually easy kalau misalnya kalian gunakan setiap saat. Oke? Masih ada waktu? Masih ada waktu? Gimana? Oke. Baik, senang sekali saya. Oke. Let's hit for second round. Kita punya waktu lagi 3 pertanyaan selanjutnya. Boleh bahasa Indonesia juga boleh bahasa Inggris. Ya, this one. 3 orang ya. Oke, nah sekarang beragam. Kalau tadi 2 perempuan 1 laki-laki, sekarang 1 perempuan dan 2 laki-laki. Keep your hands up ya supaya timnya bisa datangin. Oke, dengan siapa namanya?
First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Laki Fazara Mawada, and I would like to ask Mr. Nolan about is there any difference or specific way for us to write academic papers like essay, meta studies, or thesis, and or is just the same way? Thank you.
It's different, yeah. I think because she asked me, so I'll try and answer. Yeah, so yeah, it's different whether you're doing like a research paper or a meta study or an essay, right? So you'll have different sections. You'll have different word limit, for example. So a meta study might be longer, maybe compared to like a research study. Research study, you might have more strict word count, maybe. Essay, obviously, it's got the different sections, different to a research study, right? So research study, you've got your methods, your results and stuff like that. You don't have that in your essay. You've just got your intro and your paragraphs and your conclusion, right? And it might depend on what your field is, what formatting is required, you know? So it might be like the association has got the standardized formatting for your field, but I mean you should know what it is for your field, right? Your formatting, so you don't need to worry if there's a different field with different formatting. You just stick to the one in your field, right? But was there anything more to the question? Like, is it different Is the formatting different? So yeah, it might be different a bit.
I think that's all. Thank you for answering my question.
Okay.
Oke, jawabannya berbeda ya. Jadi kalau untuk masing-masing format papers pasti akan berbeda, disesuaikan sama kebutuhannya. Baik, the second question come from dari sebelah kiri, silakan.
Good afternoon, sir. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Bintang, and thank you for the opportunity to ask these questions. First of all, I'll try my best to ask in English. If there's a level in English, like basic, intermediate, and advanced English, how can we specifically differentiate between the intermediate and the advanced one? That's my questions. Thank you.
That's quite easy because you can search online for what you should be able to do at each level. So you can find, I'll tell you what you can search. You can search for CEFR reference table. Okay? That will say beginners should be able to do this, elementary should be able to do this, intermediate should be able to do this, upper intermediate. If I give you a brief overview now, beginners should be able to recite simple sentences that they've memorized. Hello, my name is, my age is, I live here, I'm from here. That's beginner. They should understand simple phrases. Maybe they struggle to have a free sort of conversation though, okay? Elementary, they should be able to have a basic conversation about things that are easy to talk about, things that are relevant in their immediate lives, like my job, or my course, my subject, my family, my hobbies, what I like, what I don't like. They can't have difficult conversations about topics they're not used to, but they can talk about things they're used to. That's elementary, right? Intermediate should start to be able to talk more about imaginary situations, hypothetical situations, hopes and dreams, probability, stuff like this, the chance that something might happen. They can start to talk about unusual topics, but it's still a bit difficult. Upper intermediate should be able to talk about difficult topics they're not really used to. And their grammar should be quite good by this stage. So, you know, good at talking about imaginary situations, past tense and all this kind of stuff. Talking about unusual topics, you know, like Elon Musk wants to colonize Mars. Because maybe one day Earth will be destroyed. What do you think about that? Do you think cryptocurrency will be the #1 global currency in the future? Why? Why not? That's a more unusual topic, right? Compared to my family, yeah? Or what do you think the world will be like 100 years from now? What will the technology be like? So upper intermediate should be able to do that. Advanced, you should be able to do all of that. And basically by advanced level, you should be able to understand everything. You should be able to watch any TV show, any film, listen to any radio show, and understand everything. So yeah, if you listen to like a UK radio show, normal speed, and you can't really understand it, you're not really at advanced level yet. Yeah, that's a brief overview.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So basically about this conversion, perbedaan antara level beginner, elementary, intermediate, upper intermediate, until ke upper advanced. Nanti kita akan jelaskan lebih detail ya. I will give you like satu slide. Kita akan jelaskan terutama konversinya dengan penggunaan tes bahasa Inggris yang kalian pakai di lembaga bahasa di UPN. I believe that you actually got ITP, right? Ya, ITP atau di lembaga bahasa. Nanti kita akan bantu untuk konversikan supaya lebih jelas lagi dibandingkan sama si EFEKTA atau Common European Framework yang kita punya, yang dipakai sama EF terutama. Oke, tapi secara garis besar apa yang tadi dibilang Adam adalah itu cara paling gampang untuk bisa membedakan mana antara which one is the beginner level, mana yang sudah di elementary, intermediate sampai ke upper advanced, seperti itu ya. Oke, the next question, the third question. Oke, the last. Ya, silakan. So sorry, kita punya enggak sih, lebih ke tepatnya hadiahnya habis.
Oke,
hi.
Hi, my name is Andrea Maulana. Terima kasih untuk waktu yang sudah diberikan. Pertanyaan saya itu berada pada di dalam PPT yang sudah dijelaskan oleh Mr. Adam. Ada sebuah pertanyaan yang mengganjal tentang mengapa subjek dari sebuah penulisan akademik paper kita itu tidak boleh si penulis sendiri. Padahal penulis itu juga bisa menjadi sebuah subjek yang jelas dan itu tidak akan menyulitkan kepada si penulis. Apakah akan menimbulkan keraguan dalam akademik paper kita atau ada alasan lain? Ya, terima kasih.
Oke, saya jawab dari perspektif hukum dulu ya. Mungkin nanti secara teknis penulisan disambung oleh Mr. Adam. Jadi karena pakai bahasa Indonesia deh ya. Jadi dalam riset, dalam melakukan penelitian, ketika adik-adik nanti melakukan studi lapangan, itu kenapa kita tidak boleh sebagai subjek? Karena kita harus netral. Pendapat-pendapat hukum, legal opinion yang kita sampaikan kepada khalayak dalam bentuk naskah akademik atau paper akademik tadi itu tidak boleh berpihak, karena di dalam penulisan karya ilmiah kita harus memberikan solusi yang diharapkan itu netral. Jadi kita nggak boleh sebagai subjek. Terus muncul pertanyaan, Pak, tapi kan saya juga subjek yang turun ke lapangan gitu. Kalian subjek peneliti, tapi kalian bukan subjek dalam substansi yang diteliti. Ya, bisa dipahami ya, kita subjek yang melakukan penelitian, tetapi opini kita itu tidak boleh masuk dalam substansi karya yang kita hasilkan tadi. Segitu. Jadi itu mungkin yang dimaksud kenapa kita tidak boleh sebagai subjek. Boleh, tapi sebagai peneliti, tapi tidak boleh bagian dari opini yang ingin kita teliti tadi itu. Itu ya, disambung sama Mr. Adam.
Yeah, you shouldn't change it into the researcher, because that's still from the point of view of the researcher. You should never write from the point of view of yourself or the researcher. That's just referring to yourself as something else. Like, I did this, the researcher did this, it's wrong. So it should be, this was done. Yeah. I don't know why it's like that, personally, but that's the standard. Same as like, why is it spaced this way? Why is it in this font? I don't know why they chose that, but that's the way it is, and it's standardized, so it's the same for every paper. So you should never write the researchers did this, but you can do it the participants. Yeah, the participants were asked to do this instead of the researcher asked the participant to do this. So that's the standard how it is. Yeah.
Thank you. Kalau dari Adam tadi jawabannya adalah lebih ke standarnya. Standar penulisannya memang tidak memperbolehkan kamu untuk menggunakan dirimu sebagai subjek. Ditambah dari Mr. Teddy tadi bilangnya adalah untuk netralitas ya dari sebuah penelitian itu sendiri. Oke. Masih mau ditambahin sesi pertanyaannya atau cukup? Gimana? Ini tolong dibagi dulu ya tadi untuk yang tanya ya. Ada 3. Oke. Kalau misalnya udah cukup, terima kasih sekali untuk sesi tanya jawab bersama dengan Mr. Adam dan juga untuk sesi informasi yang sudah diberikan terhadap buat kalian semua di sesi kali ini. Kita masih ada waktu sekitar 15 menit yang saya akan bantu untuk arahkan. Terima kasih sekali, thank you so much Adam for your time in here, dan juga terima kasih untuk Mr. Teddy. Saya boleh izin untuk berada di depan supaya lebih gampang? Oke, terima kasih. It's actually never been my favorite to stay in stage. Jadi, oke, mari kita mulai sesi selanjutnya. Saya boleh minta tolong slide saya yang ada namanya dikeluarkan. Oke, terima kasih. Perkenalkan sekali lagi saya Jifat. Saya adalah course consultant dari EFEKTA atau EFEKTA English for Adults yang akan membantu kalian semuanya untuk tahu bagaimana program EF ini berjalan dengan sangat bisa membantu kalian semua untuk bisa belajar ngomong bahasa Inggris. Oke, saya punya games untuk Anda semua. Yang pertama adalah I will give you like 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I will give you like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 sesi trial class di EF free. Hanya buat kalian semua yang bisa chat nomor saya sambil nulis, "Halo Kak Jifat, nama saya siapa dari UPN." Kita mulai. Bentar, saya kasih timer. Nak aja. Mari kita buktikan kemampuan provider Anda semua. Kalau providernya mahal, bagus berarti. Kita bikin waktunya. Jangan lupa ya, namanya formatnya adalah, "Halo Kak Jifat, nama saya siapa dari UPN." Kita bikin 20 detik. Belum. Ditulis dulu aja nggak apa-apa. Karena ini buat 7 orang pertama aja. Saya akan cek langsung dari paling bawah ya. Kalau lebih dari itu ya nggak dapat, mohon maaf. Oke, kita mulai 20 detik dari sekarang. Wow. 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 Oke. It's 4 already. 5 6 7. Tambahin nggak? Masih punya nggak? Masih, oke. Siap. Tadi bilang oke, stop. Aku cek ya. Jadi yang boleh dapat nanti akan aku langsung bales ya untuk dapetin. Oh enggak, I got your names, so oke. Wow, banyak sekali. Untung handphone saya nggak rusak. Lafifa, hai. Oke. Minta tolong dong yang saya sebut boleh dibagi ini ya. Oke. Hai. Oh kalau gitu di depan aja sini, iya. Nanti kita foto bersama terus kemudian kita joget. Enggak ya? Enggak bercanda, silakan maju, iya. Ini jam berapa sih? Oke, Lafifa, Aldea. Lah namanya siapa? Kagak namanya. Gatan, oke. Nadia Sultana. Udah berapa? 3 ya? Rizka Ari. Sylvia Maharani. Ocha. Which one Ocha? Okay. Diana Zain. Which one Diana Zain? Farsha Aurel. Echa. Udah berapa sih? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oke, satu lagi ya. Oke, Andini Permatasari. Oke, kalau kalian nggak dapat, nggak dipanggil, tapi udah kirim WhatsApp ke nomorku, mohon maaf salin provider kalian ya, cause you're not the top 10. Oke, banyak banget yang cewek. Ya, maaf nih, ya. Saya nggak modus loh, tapi emang mereka yang dapat nomornya duluan ya. Saya bacain paling bawah. Oke, so aku akan bagikan. Aku masih ambil 3 lagi buat kalian. Satu-satu ya. Kurang 1, 2, 3, 4. Oke, ditunggu sebentar ya. 4 more. Oke. Agak sini udah ngapain sih mepet banget, heran deh. Iya. Minimal pas foto bagus gitu. Oke.
Asli, gak ada backup plan.
Kayak misalnya HP, nggak Type-C, kalau Type-C
di itu di tasku
ya panas.
Oke. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a one day trial, satu kali sesi kelas trial. For your information, dalam satu hari kalian bisa ambil lebih dari satu kelas kalau di EF. So biasanya sih kita bakalan kasih kalian kayak 2 kelas. Enjoy it anyway. Ya, nanti kita bakalan hubungi lebih detail untuk jadwalnya karena kita harus bikinin jadwal baru buat kalian. Enjoy the classes, tapi sebelum itu kalian harus tes dulu kemampuan bahasa Inggrisnya karena nggak semuanya bisa masuk ke level-level yang kita punya, bener kan? Silakan foto dulu, senyum dulu dong dikasih. Nah. Oke, terima kasih. Silakan kembali. Nah, sekarang saya mau informasiin mengenai apa yang tadi sudah saya janjikan ke kalian semua. This is what we call CEFR, Common European Framework atau leveling yang kita punya di EF. Kami punya 16 level, beginner, elementary, intermediate, upper intermediate, advanced sampai ke upper advanced. Paling gampang kalau mau dikonversi sama apa yang kalian punya di tes adalah dari TOEIC. Oke. Atau biasanya di TOEFL PBT. Kan kalian biasanya taunya, wah TOEFL saya harus 550. Benar? TOEFL saya harus 450 untuk lulus dari UPN. Kalau enggak, tes lagi. Ya. Ada yang sudah pernah tes? Yang di sini kemampuan TOEFL-nya di atas 450 siapa? I guess the one who actually ask the question with the English harusnya sih udah di atasnya ya. Tapi kalau misalnya ada yang sudah lebih mungkin di atas 450 boleh angkat tangan? 451 Kak? Ya itu udah lebih sih. Berarti yang sisanya masih belum? Ada, belum tes. Oke, baik kalau begitu. Jadi gini, basically kalau misalnya kalian punya kemampuan bahasa Inggris di 450-an, roughly kita akan cek kalian kemampuan bahasa Inggrisnya pasti ada di level 7 di intermediate. Tapi tergantung, karena kita juga punya beberapa jenis tes yang akan kita running buat kalian untuk masuk ke EF. Salah satunya adalah speaking test juga. Kalau ternyata dalam sesi speaking nanti tidak berhasil dengan sempurna, ya pasti kita akan turunkan satu stage di bawahnya. Biasanya di elementary, kayak begitu. Nah, kalian bisa cek di situ kemampuan bahasa Inggrisnya. Kalau B1 CEFR atau level 7-nya, intermediate-nya EF, itu biasanya TOEFL-nya di angka 450, atau IELTS-nya biasanya di skornya 4. Sedangkan kalau kalian punya cita-cita nih untuk bisa, let's say, lulus dari kampus dengan baik, ada rencana jadi researcher dengan kemampuan writing yang tinggi, terus kemudian probably ada dari kalian yang pengen bisa, ini semester berapa rata-rata? 2, 4, ada yang pengen ISMA ya. Terus kemudian ada yang pengen ambil LPDP ke depannya, atau mungkin kemudian mau ambil beasiswa lainnya ke luar negeri, terus kemudian bisa foto di depannya Eiffel Tower, ya kayak gitu sih biasanya. Nah itu kalian bisa tuh ngejar sampai di skor-skor IELTS-nya cek di level 6 sampai 7. It means kalau di EF biasanya kita akan selalu standardize untuk bisa ngomong bahasa Inggris dengan baik dan benar, itu harusnya di level 13 sampai di 15. Bahkan kalau misalnya kalian ngerasa kayak saya pengen dapetin yang lebih lagi, misalnya you want to be a researcher yang baik dan benar, mau bikin penulisan karya tulis ilmiah yang baik dan benar, kedepannya we can stuck di level 15 tapi harus di 16 selesai, karena itu udah pasti IELTS-nya di atas 7. Gampangannya gini, kalau kalian sudah di level 13, 14, 15, kemampuan bahasa Inggris kalian harusnya sudah bisa ngomong bahasa Inggris untuk bahasa sehari-hari, bahasa formal atau academics, terus kemudian terbiasa untuk nulis terbiasa untuk nulis, terutama untuk sesi penulisan essay dengan topik yang cukup luas, kayak gitu. Tapi kalau misalnya kalian sampai di level 16, Targetnya adalah sudah setara dengan penutur bahasa asing. It's up to you. Tinggal pilihannya pengen sampai mana. Seperti itu. Itu yang kita punya. Jadi nanti kalau misalnya kalian tertarik buat les bahasa Inggris barengan sama kita, it's actually easy. Kita bakalan bantu tes terlebih dahulu. Tapi untuk tahu program-program IF lebih detail lagi, tentunya buat kalian tadi 10 yang beruntung, jangan lupa buat ambil sesi trial kelasnya. Yang lainnya gimana? Gampang, nanti kita atur. Oke, lanjut lagi. Boleh ke next slide? Actually, forget. Di kanan aja. Pencet panah kanan aja. Terus-terusan. Nah. Oke, biasanya the common problems kalau misalnya nggak bisa ngomong bahasa Inggris itu apa? Biasanya lack of language environment. Nggak semua kampus bisa ngomong bahasa Inggris atau nggak semua orang di kampus bisa ngomong bahasa Inggris, bener? Bener ya? Malah lebih banyak pakai bahasa Surabayaan. Ya, bener ya? Kalau ngomong bahasa Inggris di kampus ya, kamu Inggris kan ikut? Ya, tenang. Tapi di IF, terutama di IF Adults, itu adalah safe space buat kalian semua kalau pengen bisa ngomong bahasa Inggris. Semuanya ngomong bahasa Inggris, even mereka gosip, semua student kita ngegosipin orang juga pakai bahasa Inggris, bercanda juga pakai bahasa Inggris. Jadi kita berusaha untuk bikin sebuah environment yang full berbahasa Inggris. Lack of proper tuition, lack of confidence, lack of system of in learning, progress, dan lain-lain. Next, itu biasanya adalah beberapa hal yang bikin kalian semuanya suka takut ketika ngomong bahasa Inggris. Next lagi. Nah, this is the effective way to learn new skills sebetulnya, atau belajar bahasa Inggris paling mudah itu caranya gimana? Yang pertama adalah learning, trying, terus kemudian applying, dan juga certifying. So, semua orang kalau pengen bisa belajar bahasa Inggris dari awal harusnya bisa paham dulu. Ini ngapain saya? Gimana caranya belajar past tense yang benar, terus kemudian grammar yang benar seperti apa? Sometimes kita nggak ada ideas, bener nggak ya? Ini grammar yang bener seperti apa ya? Kenapa saya salah mulu? Ya, of course kita akan bantu kalian untuk belajar terlebih dahulu. Setelah itu baru ke try. Kita akan coba. Sebenarnya semua kelas kami nggak ada kelasnya yang seboring di kampus. Bukan berarti kampus itu boring ya. Cuman kita punya effective way yang berbeda untuk belajar bahasa Inggris. Salah satunya adalah praktek. Jadi semua student kita diwajibkan untuk ngomong bahasa Inggris. Ibaratnya dicemplungin aja gitu supaya lebih cepat ngomong bahasa Inggrisnya. That's actually effective, dan ya terbukti banyak banget student dari IF yang kemudian jauh lebih cepat belajar bahasa Inggrisnya dibandingin hanya cuman baca atau mungkin some of you ada yang sudah mulai belajar dari video-video di YouTube, tapi kan nggak ada teman ngomong ya, bener nggak? Nah, yang paling penting sebetulnya itu teman-teman buat ngomong atau trying dan juga applying in real life. Nah, yang paling penting juga adalah certifying. Karena apa? Setiap 6 bulan sekali di IF, kita bakalan kasih kalian speaking test. Dan speaking testnya nggak main-main. Aku boleh pinjam nggak? Bentar ya, aku mau tunjukin bentuk speaking test kalau di IF itu seperti apa.
Di IF, untuk memastikan Anda mengetahui kemajuan bahasa Inggris Anda,
Now you are at a level 9.
di setiap akhir level pembelajaran, terdapat sesi one-on-one selama 20 menit dengan pengajar asing kami.
I'm going to ask you some questions.
Anda akan menjawab pertanyaan dari pengajar kami dalam bahasa Inggris dan membahas suatu topik. Pengajar kami akan memberikan tanggapan di akhir sesi dan memberikan Anda nilai seperti lulus dengan sangat baik, lulus, atau gagal. Jika Anda gagal, service consultant akan membantu menjadwalkan kembali sesi penilaian ini.
Congratulations, you received a strong pass.
Apabila Anda lulus, Anda dapat melanjutkan ke level berikutnya. Dalam 24 jam, kami akan mengirimkan laporan tertulis secara detail mengenai apa yang Anda lakukan dengan baik dan apa yang masih perlu ditingkatkan.
Segitu care-nya kami sama yang namanya progres pembelajaran bahasa Inggris. Setiap 6 bulan sekali kami kasih kalian latihan IELTS speaking test. Ya, levelnya sesusah itu. Jadi kalau misalnya kalian ngobrol bahasa Inggris masih ada kesalahan, biasanya kita nggak akan lulusin. Karena memang yang ngetes bukan orang Indonesia, untuk menghindari bias. Biasanya kadang-kadang kalau orang Indonesia kan ngerasa ya pantes lah kalau misalnya kayak gini, tapi nggak bisa, kita nggak terima hal tersebut. Jadi biasanya yang tes langsung adalah international teacher kita, and it's open for 24 hour. Semua kelas kita 24 jam nonstop untuk kelas online-nya. Kalian bisa ketemu sama teman-teman dari berbagai negara. We got Hong Kong, kami punya China, kami punya Taiwan. Kalian bisa ketemu dari South Africa, dari Brazil. Dan fungsinya adalah buat belajar aksen-aksen baru, supaya ketika ketemu bule beneran nggak bingung, terus nggak kagok pengen foto sama mereka. Ya, kayak begitu. Jadi kalau memang pengen banget bisa belajar bahasa Inggris, sebetulnya cara paling gampang adalah datang ke center kami di Tunjungan Plaza. Tapi boleh nggak aku izin buat kasih tahu ke kalian bentuk kelas kita kayak gimana yang seru? Boleh? Boleh ya. Ini adalah salah satu bentuk kelas kita, namanya The Workshop, maksimal isinya 20 orang dalam satu sesinya, tapi biasanya kita bisa running lebih kecil dari 20 orang, biasanya 10, 8, dan konsep kelasnya benar-benar fun. Kita akan ajak kalian semua untuk diskusi, terus kemudian bikin games.
Good morning, class. How is everybody? Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I'm feeling great myself. Okay, so today we are going to be looking at profit and loss. Which is better?
Profit?
Indeed, profit. We like profit. So, in a company, who is in charge of the money?
The CEO?
Well, the CEO is in charge at the top. Who is in charge lower down?
I think accountants.
Yes, indeed. And where do accountants work in a company?
Finance department?
Indeed. Now we're going to look at the finance department here. We've got some words that I want you guys to use. I'd like you to work in groups of 3. You guys work together, you guys can work together. We have 3 words: expense, income, and profit. Discuss together how you could use them in a sentence. Okay. Guys, I need your attention over here. Good. Now, I am going to give you, in your teams, a marker each. I'm going to give you a marker there. Okay. So, can I ask you guys to stand up? I want you to form a line at this wall. Can I ask you guys to stand up and form a line over here? We're going to have a race. I want you to write your sentence as quickly as possible, but accurately. Are you ready? Okay, on your marks, get set, go, go, go. Okay, let's stop to it. That is a very good sentence. Would you mind reading it for us?
My company's income statement shows enough profit to cover the expenses.
Very good, well done, well done.
Konsep pembelajaran kalau dia memang langsung praktek seperti itu, fokusnya adalah supaya nggak keseringan duduk ya, karena kalau keseringan duduk pasti ngantuk di kelas. So kita biasanya bikin banyak activities fun. Sometimes kita juga bahkan ajak kalian buat nonton film bareng, terus kemudian diskusi. Everything is free obviously. Terus kemudian masak-masak juga, bener ya Pak ya? Ada masak-masak juga. Terus kemudian sometimes kita ajak buat jalan-jalan keluar. Sometimes we play tourist di Surabaya hanya untuk bisa belajar bahasa Inggris langsung sama orang-orang di sekitaran. Jadi kalau udah mulai penasaran sama English First, EFEKTA for Adults, jangan lupa kalian nanti akan dapat beberapa brosur dari kami. Terus kemudian ada beberapa akses classes juga yang bisa kalian dapatkan. Nanti tim kami juga akan bantu hubungin kalau memang misalnya kalian tertarik, kita bisa bantu untuk bikinin sesi konsultasi dan juga placement test buat kalian semua. Dan untuk semua yang sudah hadir di acara hari ini, kita bakalan kasih special discount. Special discountnya saya nggak bisa share hari ini, nanti akan langsung dihubungi oleh tim konsultan dari EF supaya bisa lebih jelas dan juga lebih detail lagi. Oke, terima kasih sekali untuk waktunya. Tepuk tangan dulu dong buat kita semua. saya closing dulu boleh ya? Oke, kalau begitu ini nanti Pak Teddy mau close juga acaranya? Oh baik, kalau begitu saya kembalikan ke MC-nya aja yang dari tadi bahasa Inggrisnya luas banget. Tepuk tangan dulu dong buat MC-nya.
Thank you, Mr. Jipa. Thank you, Mr. Adam and Mr. Teddy for the wonderful insights and also information. And as we draw near to the end of seminar, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all of our speakers, participants, and also organizer for making this event a resounding success. We've had the privilege of delving into the nuances of academic writing, exploring invaluable tips and tricks for enhancing grammatical proficiency, and gaining insights into the EFEKTA English program for adults. Let us carry forward the knowledge and inspiration gained here today as we continue our academic and professional journeys. On behalf of English First and Magister Hukum UPN Veteran Jawa Timur and the organizing committee, thank you for your active participation and unwavering enthusiasm. Until we meet again, may you continue to strive for excellence in all your endeavors. Thank you and have a wonderful day ahead. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And before we close the event, we would like to give Mr. Adam certificates to Mr. Teddy, please. Kepada para hadirin dimohon untuk tetap berada di ruangan karena akan ada absensi yaitu barcode yang akan muncul di layar. Terima kasih.
Adik-adik, nanti di absensinya itu kan ada absensi kehadiran. Nah, kita foto dokumentasi satu lagi karena tadi banyak yang pulang, saya nggak bisa kedeteksi. Nanti yang diupload adalah foto yang sesi paling terakhir ini, ya. Bisa dipahami ya? Nanti di absensi ini itu ada bukti upload foto yang harus disubmit. Jadi kita foto dokumentasi satu kali lagi, yang diupload adalah foto terakhir ini, ya. Buat memastikan kalian punya arsip dan mengikuti kegiatan ini sampai selesai. Oke?